Luffy can't swim, which is a weakness, but did you know he has another major flaw that's much worse and could be how he is defeated? Today I'm going over Luffy's biggest weakness as well as all the other Straw Hat pirates. So stay tuned until the end to find out Luffy's greatest flaw. First, we're gonna cover Zoro. On the outside, it might seem like a stoic, fearless guy like him can't have any weaknesses. It's impossible, but actually that's a weakness within itself. Zoro keeps his feelings bottled up. While that might make him appear strong, it can create an emotional distance between himself and others, which could cause bad communication with his fellow crewmates and maybe even hurt some friendships. This isn't even Zoro's biggest weakness. What could really hurt him is his sense of direction. You could drop this man in a hallway with one door and he'd somehow end up on the roof. It's hilarious, but in a real battle scenario, it's actually dangerous. Imagine a war breaking out and your second strongest fighter is off battling a tree because he thought it was an enemy base. This weakness of Zoro's has already cost the crew a lot of time and energy in the past, and in some of these high stakes battles that they're in, it could be the difference between life and death. Zoro's been lost on islands, ships, inside buildings, and even on a straight path. How is that possible? Zoro's strength means nothing if he shows up 10 minutes after the fight ends, so somebody please give my man Zoro the GPS no me, he needs it. Now on to Brooke. His biggest weakness is not drowning like most devil fruit users because he can run on water. He might actually be the only devil fruit user that can run on water, and that's thanks to his insanely light skeletal body. But that same body is also his biggest weakness. You see, Brooke falls short in raw physical strength and durability. His body is just not sturdy enough to endure long battles against enemies. In some ways, it helps him out. He has no blood to lose, no skin to cut, no organs to fail, but all he has is an old, frail skeleton. This is probably why we hardly ever see Brooke go one-on-one with somebody. Even in Wano, he didn't have a one-on-one fight, because if Brooke doesn't freeze them or win in one or two attacks, he's gonna lose. He's not durable enough to fight them. Now in a supporting role, Brooke is pretty good. He can sneak in undetected with his soul powers, and that's where he really shines in those little niche support roles. But in a 1v1, Brooke's biggest weakness is his old skeleton body. Yo, Usopp has plenty of weaknesses. His huge nose makes him an easy target, his lack of physical strength puts him at a disadvantage in most fights, and he has a slight tendency to overthink everything and make it worse than it actually is. But all of those are nowhere near his true biggest weakness. He's a coward. Usopp is the first to scream and sprint the other way whenever the Straw Hats find themselves in trouble. He'll act brave until the danger actually shows up, then suddenly he has "I can't go on that island or I'll die" disease. To be completely honest with you though, we can't blame him very much. In a world like One Piece where there are gods and devil fruit users running around, we would all be scared too. So in a sense, Usopp is kind of the most relatable character, but his fear makes him doubt himself, and doubting yourself in a world like One Piece is a surefire way to get you killed. It sucks because we've all seen what Usopp is capable of, like in Dressrosa, but he hasn't done anything brave since then. So until he can overcome that, Usopp's cowardice is going to be his biggest weakness. Next we have Nami, who doesn't have very many weaknesses, but there are some that stand out and could be used against her. First, Nami isn't the strongest Straw Hat by any means. She's not built for close combat, and like Usopp, tends to panic when things get dangerous. But Nami's true biggest weakness is her uncontrollable greed. Her love for money and treasure is so deep, she's been known to risk her life and the crew's life for it. She'll do almost anything as long as there's berries involved. Now it's usually used for laughs and kind of like as a character gag, but her obsession could easily be used against her. Imagine someone like Blackbeard learns that Nami is very greedy. He could easily lure her with fake treasure or something, and even though Nami's smart, once her eyes turn into that dollar sign, she's gone. Her brain is only thinking about one thing at that point: money. So her love for money could put her in serious danger one day, and if someone really wanted to trap or kidnap her, all they'd need is a sparkling pile of gold and a half-believable lie. Now on to Chopper. He has some hilarious weaknesses. For starters, his go-to defense tactic, hiding in plain sight, doesn't help very much, and yeah, I guess it's not really a weakness, but it could be. Another thing about Chopper is that he's very dependent on his rumble balls in battle. If he doesn't have one of those, he's very weak. So if the Straw Hats are ever in a serious combat situation and Chopper doesn't have those rumble balls, it's definitely a weakness that could be exploited by his opponent. Chopper will be much easier to defeat if he doesn't have any rumble balls, but that's not his biggest weakness. Chopper's Chopper's actual biggest weakness is by far his gullibility. You could tell Chopper almost anything and he would believe it. And it's kind of a character flaw for Chopper because he's so eager for the approval of others that it can cloud his judgment sometimes. And there's already a perfect example of this. Whenever we get past the time skip in Sabaody, Chopper actually believed that the fake Straw Hat crew were the real ones. He was following them without much hesitation, and even though they looked and acted nothing like his old friends, Chopper wasn't even that suspicious. For a genius doctor, Chopper's social IQ is pretty low, and that's kind of his biggest weakness. Now to Sanji. He surprisingly has several weaknesses which you wouldn't expect from someone as strong as him. But one weakness is that he refuses to use his hands to fight because he protects them for cooking only. I respect his nobleness, but we gotta be honest here, that's a weakness. Only using half of your body in fights is definitely a big weak point, but Sanji has proved me wrong. He's trained hard enough to where he only needs to use his legs in battle, and he's defeated very powerful opponents like Queen recently, so kudos to him, and that's why it's not his biggest weakness. And another small weakness of Sanji's is that he kind of has a short temper. All it takes is one little sentence to trigger him and you can make him really mad, especially if you have green hair and your name is Mosshead. But that doesn't compare to his ultimate kryptonite: women. That is Sanji's biggest weakness. He loses all logic, reason, and even his will to live when there's a beautiful woman in the room. He'll go from a deadly assassin to a hard-eyed cartoon in half a second. He's lost fights, blown cover, and nearly died multiple times just because he refused to fight a woman, even if she's a powerful enemy trying to kill him. It's honorable, but an incredibly dangerous weakness that could definitely be used against him, and we've seen it used against him multiple times. In Eni's lobby against Khalifa, dude got beaten into a pulp. Against Black Maria, dude was bleeding and hung up. He was gonna die if Robin didn't show up. And those are just two examples. Fishman Island, he was useless because of all the mermaids, and recently he was barking like a dog whenever he saw Stussy. So yeah, women are by far Sanji's biggest weakness. Next up we have Ganbay, who is an absolute tank, but all tanks have weaknesses. We've seen Ganbay be a powerhouse and take massive blows that would knock out most people, most notably when he took Akainu's punch in Marineford, but Jinbei's biggest weakness is his speed on the battlefield. As a fishman, he's not equipped to be fast on land, and that can really hurt him in fights, especially considering Ganbay is a whale shark fishman, so he's already much larger. Now if you put him in water, he might win a 1v1 against everyone else on the crew, but on land, Jinbei's speed is definitely his biggest weakness, and it was kind of hard to pick one for him. He's overall a very sound character and fighter and doesn't have many major weaknesses both physically and emotionally, but if I had to pick one, it would be that limited speed on land. Next we have Nico Robin. She might be the calmest one on the crew, but she does have one very unexpected weakness, and that's cute things. Ever since Robin joined the crew, Robin was completely charmed by his fuzzy innocence, often calling him adorable and patting his head like a proud mom. A hilarious moment was when Frankie ended up in Chopper's body during the body switch incident. Robin was visibly disgusted, saying that Frankie had ruined Chopper's cuteness. And it's not just Chopper. Another example was Rinosuke in Zo. He was that awkward little dragon that Kondro had created to climb up Zo. Most of the crew saw him as like a temporary helper, but Robin bonded with him instantly, and when Rinosuke collapsed from exhaustion, Robin looked completely devastated. It's kind of rare to see Robin's emotions, but when she sees cute things, you can tell she has a very soft-hearted nature. Now onto the last two, we got Frankie. He might be built like a walking battleship, but even he has some major design flaws, most notably his exposed back. In case you don't remember, his back is still entirely human, making it his most vulnerable spot in a serious fight. Now that's a big weakness, especially if he's fighting someone that figures that out and they try to exploit that, but still, I don't even think that's his biggest weakness. Frankie's true largest flaw is his cola dependency. His entire cyborg system runs on cola fuel, meaning all his powerful weapons, speed, and even basic enhancements can shut down if he runs out. Without cola, Frankie gets significantly weaker, and we've seen him try to use other drinks like tea. It's not very good. So for Frankie's sake and everyone else's sake, we better hope he never runs out of cola. Now to the captain, Monkey D. Luffy. I think his biggest weakness is his brain. Luffy lacks common sense, he makes dumb, impulsive decisions, he depends on food too much, and he's too trustworthy. All of these can be used against him, and we've seen it happen time and time again. It's just due to extreme luck or maybe plot armor that Luffy manages to get past all of these issues. But yeah, one of them could definitely be his downfall in the future. Which Straw Hat weakness is the worst in your opinion? Comment below.